going to just read to you from this book, which I would say is the single most, for me, has been the single most valuable book. I wish I could say it was written by a woman, but it wasn't.
Does everybody have a copy of bibliography? Because I need to print that out. Does anybody need one?
And it's called The Holy Grail. Its origins, secrets, and meanings revealed.
Wow.
And it's by Malcolm Godwin. And it's got beautiful pictures all the way through. And it makes the myth and the stories and the implications of the social historical context, all of it accessible and rationally understandable. And at the same time touching that mythic, poetic dimension. So from this book, I would like to read to you how he would describe the basic story, acknowledging that it's really a hodgepodge, and depending upon who you're reading, you're going to get some variation on it. But what is the stream that seems to be running through all of them? The essential story appears to be set in an unspecified age of chivalry, associated with the court of King Arthur. Historically speaking, this would have been the 6th century, although most of the accounts show no more than a cursory regard for chronological accuracy. Often setting the action 5 centuries later during the Crusades. The field of the action is likewise found in regions set as far apart as Britain and the Holy Land, ranging over Wales, Scotland, Brittany, southern France, Germany, Spain, Egypt, India, and the Near East, depending upon which stories you're reading. Yet, while historical sites and locations are often given with a wealth of accurate details, the reader must never lose sight of the fact that the real action takes place mostly within the dreamscape. This is like a dream. Mostly within the dreamscape of the other world. Other world, O, capital O. And far removed from historical time. Into this bardic and mythical place, a hero is born, who is destined to achieve his quest for a mysterious otherworldly object known as the Grail. At this point, you should know the Grail isn't just a cup. In lots of the stories, it is a cup. But sometimes it's a cauldron. It's an object that just shines, and you don't even find out what it actually is. It can be a fish. It can be a stone. It's come down to us as a cup. But in the stories, it isn't always. And this has certain implications as well, which I'll talk about. So this hero is variously known as Arthur, Gawain, Peredur, Roosevelt, Parsifal, Galahad, or Bors. There are many different Grail heroes depending on the story. His conception, meaning his birth, is usually the result of a mysterious conjunction of parents possessing a mixture of the highest valor and virginal purity, or the most potent magical and spiritual powers. As a child, he is reared alone, without companions or siblings. Either, and this is very interesting, he is raised either by his mother or by magically endowed warrior women, or by nuns.
That word warrior or warrior?
Warrior.
Okay.
What did I put here?
Warrior.
That would have been me. I would have been the mother. And that's warrior with the personality. while he often lacks any worldly ways, he has an innocence which in some cases earns him the name the Great Fool. The Great Fool. In case I forget, and in case there's the Christian Holy Fool. The Holy Fool. And in the Tarot, is anybody who knows the Tarot? There is also, the first card in the Tarot is the Fool. The Tarot, it's connected with that also. When he eventually leaves this female domain, his first desire is to become the greatest knight of his age. He enters the world of men. This entails an initiation through the court of King Arthur and joining the fellowship of the Round Table. Round Table. Circles. We're going to come back to circles and the Round Table. It's very important. At this point, although the hero distinguishes himself mightily, revealing the telltale mark of destiny, he is always seen as a bit of a gawky yet handsome misfit in the chivalrous company of his fellow knights. His renown through prodigious feats of arms, his impeccable family pedigree, and that lineage is very important in the myth, and I'm going to talk about that, were such fated acts as taking his place at the Round Table on the seat perilous mark him clearly as the chosen one. The seat perilous at the Round Table. The Round Table was actually, especially in the Christian version of the myth, the Round Table was the third table. The first table was the table of the Last Supper. The second table was the table established for the Holy Grail by Joseph of Arimathea. I'll talk about that. And the third table was the Round Table, at which the Grail appeared. And at this table, which was all the knights, King Arthur's knights would gather around the Round Table, and the significance of that was that there was not that kind of hierarchy, that everybody was equal at the table. There was one seat that was kept empty, and this was the seat that signified where Judas had been, at the table of the Last Supper. And it was destined that he who would be worthy enough to attain the Holy Grail would be the only person who would be able to sit and fill that seat again. And anyone who tried, who was not having that destiny, the seat would break, it would crack, or it would swallow it up and just disappear into the seat. So that's the seat perilous. Meaning, it's very perilous to sit in there if you are not meant to be there. If you are not the chosen one. Alright, so he takes his place in the seat perilous. Then, either he rides off to discover the mysterious Holy Grail by himself, or it appears at Arthur's table, giving off such a miraculous and nourishing aura that when it vanishes, all the assembled knights vow a fellowship and quest to discover its secrets. The stories then follow the moralizing preferences of the individual author, describing both those perfect knights who will eventually achieve the mystery and those who for some reason are flawed and fail. The unfolding story is one of a dreamlike journey into the unknown through the agency of the sacred and mysterious vessel. But the search is individual, and the seeker, thus the importance of this ride of the age of individual and individuality, it's not going to be a spiritual journey through the church or through community, but it's me and my God. The search is individual, and the seeker has to face the void alone in order to earn the right to a direct communion with the ultimate mystery. The initiate hero must variously ask a question correctly, avenge a wrong, win the Grail,
remain steadfast and loyal, or capture a castle to prove himself worthy.
Say them again.
Yeah, these are the various things he might have to do, depending upon the story. He must either, and usually he does have to ask a question correctly. He has to ask the right question. We're going to talk about all these things, okay? I'm just giving you the overview. He might have to avenge a wrong, win the Grail, remain steadfast and loyal, or capture a castle to prove worthy. The importance of the castle we'll talk about. By doing so, he is transformed, and through his actions manages to heal the wounded guardian, known as the wounded king or the fisher king. He manages, through his actions, to heal the wounded guardian of the sacred vessel and restore the surrounding wasteland to a paradise. That's the basic story. And all of them have variations on that, containing most, but not necessarily all of those elements. This is the story. I love little drawing schemes. There's one other schema to look at. You see how the states that we follow, although this paradise piece up here, I didn't, it wasn't in there, his description, but it's very important. And of course, the attainment brings you back to paradise also. You start in paradise, you go back to paradise. But before doing that, I'd like you to refer to the other side of the map, which talks about the three streams of the Grail myth. The three streams, culturally and spiritually, in which it emerged. It's nice, it's in the shape of a cup. Also, some might say the tree of life, Kabbalistic tree of life. The ball is very important to me. All of the esoteric religions play a part. I mentioned that the beginnings of it we find in the Celtic world. And so the first stream, and Chrétien de Troyes was connected with this, comes from the Celts. His story is really a telling of that story. He really doesn't have that many Christian influences within it. It's sort of there, but really he's telling a Celtic story. So much so that it wasn't even really the Holy Grail that much in his story. But the idea of a Holy Grail really didn't emerge at that point. It was only when it was taken over by the Cistercians and Christianized, and others who were part of that, like Robert de Boron, took these Celtic symbols and these traces of Celtic legends and stories and somehow managed, we'll see some of the traces of it, to turn them into Christian symbols. And turn it into the relationship with Christ and the Grail might and the manifestation of Christ. They did all of that. It was at that point that it became the Holy Grail. That's the Christian stream. And then the other stream here called the chemical branch. I usually say alchemical just to distinguish between that and chemistry. But it's really about alchemy. And that came from Germany. There's really only one story within that, and that is Eschenbach's Wolfram story. And that is the story that has most apparent within it its influence from the religions of the Orient, as well as these new occult and esoteric religions, like astrology and Buddhist and Tarot and things like that.